everybody. Thanks for joining me for the next part of my progress on this Bits and Bobs quilt, video 19. I didn't get an early introductory video made this week because there was a bunch of cloudy days, so I didn't have a good sunny window to record, so I went ahead and started some stitching. And now I'll share some of that with you and a new idea I came up with for additional tidbits, I guess. More bits and bobs to add to this quilt there. I'm just removing the last of the basting stitch for that one. So satisfying. Okay, I started with the tiles piece. I did the blind stitching around the outside, applique stitch, and then I quilted just around each of the 3 tile pieces. That got finished, and then I had more time, so I wanted to stitch this down. And I know I said last week or the week before that I'm not going to be doing these smaller pieces, but I should say I'm not going to be doing them until I'm pretty sure I know for sure they're going to go exactly where I have them, and this one was a perfect spot for it. But there was stuff happening, nothing happening here. So I was thinking about that, and I didn't want to put in a piece of lace. I didn't have any good pieces of lace to put in. And so I started thinking and thinking as I started stitching, and then it occurred to me, I put in a tab, and how I made this little heart tab, I'll pick it up and show you. Was by digging in, grab that, I dug in my trims that I hadn't used, and I had this trim, and it's pretty. I love the heart, the color of the heart, and the fact that the edge is the same, but this pink and green just wasn't right for this quilt, so I didn't find a spot to use this. But I did as a tab. I just folded it like that, cut it off there, and tucked that underneath my piece. So that turned out adorable. I'm very pleased with that. And it made me look at some other trims I have that I hadn't used. This is a pretty ribbon. And so what I did is I jumped ahead in case I want more tabs, and I've made up some tabs to be able to tuck under. Maybe. They're all maybes. I don't know if I'll use them, but I got them made. That one's pretty. This one with the heart. So I love that I thought of that idea of a way to include some more ribbons and trims without actually, this one has the swans, without actually, you know, needing to edge a whole block or something like that. Okay, there's that. So that's prepared in advance. And then that got me thinking, well, what else could I tuck under other places? And when I'm not really prepared, but I have a few fabrics that I just have tiny pieces of. And these 2 I didn't use in the quilt at all. So what I did is I folded these all up into these little fake, into little double triangles like a prairie point. They're not ironed or trimmed or anything yet, but they're possibilities to have just one single prairie point sticking out of a block somewhere. I thought that would be a nice little element. What I like about the heart and these little tabs is this gave me sort of an unexpected dash of brightness right there, because there's all the light pink and then the dark blue, and then this was all very similar-ish, and then all of a sudden there's this different pink rose sticking out of this block right there. I like that a lot. Now, the other thing I also got done is I stitched down this little piece that it's blue velvet that I pinked out and stitched this little element on. And what I ended up doing to attach it to the piece is I did in pearl cotton that's very similar to this, or it's the same color as that. I did 4 French knots in the corners, and then I did a running stitch to finish the frame in the color of the flower, and it is so charming. Yeah, so I'm pleased with that. Now, I have a bit of time. I'll be back when I have some more for you. I mentioned last time that I think it was last time, that I was going to add buttons to the corners of this bow block, and I'm probably going to attach it with a little decorative bow, and I thought I'd show you how I do that. I start with a length of some kind of embroidery floss. I find pearl cotton, especially the thicker versions, a little slippery, so the bow doesn't necessarily stay, and you might have to take a stitch to hold it. But embroidery floss works pretty good. So I'm not exactly sure the ratio of how much extra you should give yourself for this, but I cut myself about a foot-long piece, and it's 3 strands that I'm using in this case. So what I did is, when I knew where my button should go, I went down in the left hole, and I don't have a knot, and I didn't start from the bottom and come up. I went down from the top, down through to the back, and then came up through the right hole. So that's where I am right now. Now, to hold the button there and not just be decorative, I'm going to go back down in the left, and we're in the left hole again to the back, and I'm going to save me before a big, a chunk of thread on this side, and not pull it all the way through, because I need to use that to tie my bow. So I'm going to go down across the button like that, and then I'm going to come back up where, hope this is still on camera, double check. Oh good, I just stabbed myself, make sure I'm not bleeding. Okay, so I come up in the right hole again, and now the button's pretty secure. So now I get to tie my bow. So I take my needle off and do, just for the security of it, I'm going to start with a knot, and then I'm going to make a little bow out of it. And this you can adjust and play with until you like it. You don't want the bow to be too big, I don't think, or I don't. And when it's just about where you want it, oops, there, actually, I really like that. Yeah, I do like that. Oops, now I'm going too far. Yeah, gonna fuss now. Oops. Oh no, I pulled that too tight. There, back. Back. This is a bit fussy. Sometimes it goes smoother than others. The trick is when I'm going to do 4, so I kind of want them all to be quite similar. Not exact, but similar. Okay, I think for now I'm going to leave that as is, but to make sure it sort of stays where I want it, I'm going to do one more knot. There. But I'm going to leave my tails so that if I want to adjust a little more, I can undo the knot and adjust the tail. So there. It's cute. A little bit of a cute little bow design that goes with the bow block. All right. I just remembered that I have examples I could show you of the tying a button. So here's one I did in pearl cotton. This is a mini quilt I made for my Let's Play. So I did the little tie on that button. And then a different version, I used pearl cotton here, but I didn't make a bow, I just did a double tie. You do those the same, you go down from the top and then up, do a secure stitch and then tie it off. And then I've also done that with silk ribbon. Tie a button, silk ribbon, same principle, down from the top, up, security stitch, and then tie it into a bow. And here's another one I did with a different silk ribbon button. Yeah, that's a fun detail to add. And then as I was looking for those those are all the mini quilts from my Let's Play that I did from January to July. That series is on hold, but I do hope to get back to it. I just wanted to start stitching my bits and bobs because I had finished the elements. I showed you that trim, that blue trim that I had used a lot, and then I had made into, by turning, I had made it into these little rays of designs so that I could put a button in the middle. Well, I did that on this quilt too, this mini quilt. Here's the version in brown, and then I put a button in the middle of that. So all different things you can do just by looking at what's in your collection. So eventually, when I have all my buttons stitched to the corners, I will trim these long tails to be the same as the others. All right, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I got lots of progress done. That's the sweetest. It doesn't show here. The raspberry isn't really showing on the, let's see if I can do this. No, well, a little bit. A little bit. It's okay. Comment, let me know what you liked. If I can answer any questions, feel free to ask. Subscribe, that helps a lot. And give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. I've got my thinking caps on and more creative thoughts happening as I progress throughout this series, and I will share them weekly as I have them come across. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your interest, and happy stitching.